Damon Parkinson, one of the two assistant managers to be announced by Tom Shaw recently. Welcome to the club in your new role.
Thank you very much.
Bit of a change for you? Bit of a change of scenery?
Yeah, obviously I've been around the club for the last 4 years developing the community foundation, but obviously most recently in non-league I've been with Dave Frecklington, who's familiar with the club, and the fans will be familiar with him at Frickley, and it was quite a tough decision to leave, to be honest. I think the two clubs have got a lot in common. The fans are brilliant, the board and the directors are fantastic. So yeah, it was quite a tough one to leave, and there wouldn't have been many opportunities I would have left for. But Gainsborough Trinity's, obviously, I'm familiar with a lot of the fans. I'm familiar with the board, and it's a step up.
And something that little bit different, similar to what you've done last season, but that little bit different in terms of your wider career.
Yeah, and I think obviously once I'd found out a bit more about Tom, obviously I knew about him and a little bit about his reputation, but once I'd done a bit of digging as such and found out a bit more about how well he was thought of at Lincoln City in non-league circles, in coaching circles. I think normally when you mention a manager, there's good and bad, and there's always them, oh, he's brilliant, but, occasionally. I've heard nothing bad at all, which is very unusual, but he's young, he's up and coming. But yeah, across professional, semi-professional, non-league environments, all I've heard is positives. And yeah, for my career, working with someone like Tom, and I know there's bits we'll learn off each other, is going to be massive for my development as well.
What's he said to you about what he expects from you in terms of your role?
He's kind of said, obviously, people will look and go, there's a manager and two assistants, but I think that's becoming more and more common in non-league football. It's a big commitment. It's like being at a professional football club full time, but in the non-league. So I think you need a mix of people, and kind of, he's obviously the manager, he's in charge. But between the three of us, we've got completely different sets of skills and backgrounds. So we're all going to work together. And I think as we go through pre-season, we're going to find out a bit more about people's strengths and how we can maximise and utilise each other most effectively.
Very exciting times. Have you got a chance to do much work with, well, obviously the release list was announced yesterday. So, well, with shaping of the squad, really.
Yeah, and I mean, I know they've already been looking, for a few weeks at various players. They've looked at a lot of younger professionals, and kind of we're almost chunking it. I think what's the interesting thing is how long this pre-season is, and I know there's been clubs announcing signings 6 weeks ago, but obviously, as we all know, you couldn't sign anybody. So it's just PR and promotion and to keep fans engaged, which, as we saw last season, there was players signed for a club, never kicked a ball, and had signed for another club and another club. So we've got a lot of time. And I think the key is we're trying not to look at players blind. We're going to spend a lot of time, watching footage, watching players, bringing them in, talking to people. And I think that's going to be quite a big part of it. So I've already seen some of the players 2 or 3 times. And I know Tom's seen them quite a few more. And we're currently looking at lots of very, very good players, very talented players from leagues above and leagues below.
Exactly. When you look at the professional game, they're still playing. They haven't even finished their season yet. So that sort of gives you an indication of a window, doesn't it? We've still got to work with.
Yeah, and a lot of, even not just the professional game, there's a lot of county cups and COVID cups and competitions that are still happening. Clubs are still playing kind of friendlies at the back end of the season. So football hasn't really finished. It has for fans, and it has in terms of league position. But there's still a lot of football going on, and them players are still on furlough. They're still contracted. You can't go and talk to them, and they're not going to leave. If a player's earning good money on furlough at another club, he's not going to engage in talks anywhere else. So it's just a bit of a weird time. It's unique, but what it does give us an opportunity to do is spend a bit of time looking to make sure we get it right best we can.
But just to reassure the fans, it is actively happening, and we know what we want.
Yeah, very active. Tom's got a clear brief and a clear direction. I fully buy in. Otherwise, I wouldn't have have left, and there's lots going on behind the scenes. But I think the timing is key, and making sure we do it properly. And again, August, people go August 14th, isn't that far away. It is still a long time. We've not finished last season yet.
Yep. Okay, well, just moving on then, we'll do 10 quickfire questions and find out a little bit more about you, the things we don't know already.
Brilliant.
Question number one, the team that you support.
Funny one, and I'm probably going to get hammered. Lincoln City is the team I grew up with. Dad started taking me when I was quite young, and we had a season ticket for a number of years. And this will be the one I get hammered for, Manchester United. Not a glorious sport. I just loved Alex Ferguson's teams. You know, it wasn't about winning 1-0. It was exciting, attacking football. And if you scored 3, try and score 4. But yeah, and I'll get a bit of stick for that one.
But not a bad side to model the way you perhaps want Trinity to play next season.
Yeah, they've always been exciting, haven't they? They've never been boring, whether they're winning trophies or not. They've been a good team to watch.
Okay, your best ground that you've played or managed at?
That's a tough one. Probably Halifax. You know, I've not had a professional career, but I've obviously managed more than I've played non-league. But yeah, Halifax is an impressive non-league ground. Played and managed there, to be fair. So I got both.
Okay. Your biggest influence on your career?
That's a funny one. Obviously, everyone says their dad. Obviously, my dad took me here, there, and everywhere growing. But again, I didn't have a professional career. I wanted an academy. I kind of started quite late, and ended up playing, step 5 football. But I think multiple influences. My first boss that's become a very good friend, Richard Cooper, who was a coach educator at the FA. Multiple coaches that I followed, even Dave Frecklinton most recently. I try and learn off lots of different people, so I've not got one massive influence.
A little bit though, taking a bit from everybody and makes you stronger, but keeping your own identity at the same time.
Yeah, and I think with all of it, and it will come into kind of how games per Trinity look, the game's changing all the time, and I think even old-fashioned managers, the minute they don't change, they're left behind. So yeah, it's constantly taking new information and new ideas, but finding where you sit and fit and what your identity is within that.
Okay, you've touched on not having the professional career, but have you got a toughest opponent, whether that's been on the pitch or in the dugout?
No, but when I took over, I was very young. I took over at Lincoln Moorlands, I think 24 years old when I stopped playing, so quite young. We'd won 6 out of 7 at the start of the season. So I thought, oh, here we go. This is brilliant. Easy, this management malarkey. And we went in the FA Cup qualifying to Leicester Nirvana. We were 5-0 down in 15 minutes, and we got absolutely walloped. And it was a real test because there was that panic that stuff was happening that quickly. It was, wow. What do I do here? What's plan B? I think we ended up losing 7-0. They were good. They were 2 leagues higher. And I've since played them 2 or 3 times, and they've beat us every single time I've been there.
Fair enough. Okay, moving on to your boyhood hero.
Paul Scholes. I wasn't anywhere near as good as him. I wasn't even a similar type of player, but I played in midfield and I just loved watching him. Some people say one of the best in the world, others say completely overrated, but I thought you were a brilliant player. Absolutely brilliant.
Like to tackle.
Yeah, I love to tackle, but I just think how much space he made the game look so easy. Never looked like he was working hard, but he was, and he scored some really important goals, some brilliant goals.
Some special goals indeed. Okay. The funniest player, teammate, person in football?
There's loads. I mean, the non-league is littered with characters. Probably most recently, one I've worked with is Gav Saxby, who's goalkeeper coach at Frickley. He's a funny man. And if you're on social media, he puts a joke on every day, and he's just constantly jokes, and you he catches you off guard all the time. You think, oh, here we go, I know what's coming, and he just throws you off. So yeah, Sax is a funny man.
I do think that's an important part of a squad makeup, having those sorts of characters that can lighten the mood, know when to have that little bit of a crack, but know the other side as well.
I think the key is knowing when and where to have it. I've worked with some players that are just absolutely non-stop constant. But yeah, it's picking your moments. But yeah, Sax is funny. There's Liam Hughes, who was at Frickley for a little bit, another funny player.
The live wire.
Yeah, real live wire. But you know, just funny and good to have around. You know, whether you're winning or losing, real good characters.
Okay, looking at your claim to fame, you've only had a little bit of time to think about some of these. So.
Yeah, and again, claim to fame, I suppose, managing in the FA Cup. I know it was only in the qualifying rounds, but managing in the FA Cup at 24, you know, I was really, really proud of. And I won't say that was my first buzz in football, but that excitement that day was brilliant. And then got to work with Graham Taylor quite closely on an inside right. So it was a mental health project for the veterans, because we were at Lincoln City. It was linked with the RAF. They're probably my two, really.
Brilliant. Okay. Can you think of 3 items that you'd take with you on a desert island?
Yeah, I think, you know, I don't want to say the standard, but staff will tell you that I'm constantly on my mobile phone. So I'll probably try and leave that alone. But obviously, my 2 children, they definitely have to come. You know, my partner, we're expecting our first child together. A football. I'd have to have a football, although I don't play anymore. I still love a kickabout.
The family, football, and
it would have to be my mobile phone. It would, because I'm not on social media all the time, but constant. You need it all the time. I'm never ever off it, so it would have to be mobile phone.
So a few hours of screen time.
Yeah, I try and get it down. Every Monday I get a notification how long I've been, and every week I think, oh, I've done all right this week, and it goes up 10%. So
yeah, been there, done that. It just seems to keep on going up. I don't think there's enough hours in the day for it to go up anymore.
No, there isn't. No.
All right, 4 people that you'd have round for dinner, living or dead.
Yeah, I think Paul Gascoigne. I think I still want to go and see him live, but you know, you hear on the telly all the time the stories. I've seen some of his interviews. So yeah, Paul Gascoigne, Paul Scholes, obviously is a football idol, and then James Corden and Freddie Flintoff. Probably, I watch League of Your Own quite a bit. Freddie Flintoff's probably one of the best all-round sports people out there, and James Corden, I just think on a night out is a funny man with a great knowledge of sport.
Brilliant. And one prediction for the 2021-22 season.
It's going to get completed. I think after 2 long years, I think we're going to get a full season out of it, which will be exciting because, again, even at Frickley, every time we gain momentum, and I think has been similar with Gainsborough Trinity, season stopped and uncertainty all the way through. So I think the only thing really we can predict is I think we're going to get a full season. And it's going to be an exciting one. It's, you know, the start of something new at Gainsborough. I think there's going to be a lot of clubs that are offering this and offering that, as they do every year. But I think there's going to be some shocks and upsets with clubs. There's going to be clubs chucking money that they can't afford to do. So yeah, I think the only thing is going to be a roller coaster. It's going to be exciting, and I think we're going to complete it. We'll get a full season.
Can't wait to see what happens. But Damo, thank you for your time.
Thank you.